Hey folks, welcome to the presentation about Disc Golf Network. We're going to talk today a little bit about OTT platform migration, process that we've gone through over the course of the past year. My name is Jeff Spring. I'm the CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the Disc Golf Network, and I've got our broadcast technology director, Jeff Tocci, here with me. And I'll kick it over to Jeff after I tell you a little bit about what disc golf is, which is where we're going to start here. It's an emerging sport, and a lot of folks in the sporting world have heard about disc golf, but a lot of folks haven't. And this is a kind of a community-to-community type of sport where if there are disc golf players in a community, it really grows, and it's well known in different communities. It started in the late 60s into the 70s, and the official equipment that we now use today was really around 1978, 1980. There were professional world championships around then, and disc golfers that loved the sport started playing competitively in the early 80s. So since then, we've had 20 years of world championships up until about the turn of the century, when a national tour formed. That national tour eventually emerged to a point where the Disc Golf Pro Tour was launched in 2016, dedicated not to amateur events or anything but professional disc golf. The Disc Golf Pro Tour had a focus in media when it launched. I was one of the original tournament directors for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, so I was involved from the outset. But in 2020, our current ownership group recapitalized the tour, became majority owners, and decided to invest and try to take things to the next level. To give you a sense, there's somewhere between 8 and 10 million disc golfers in the world. This includes folks that have just played casually once or twice, all the way to the folks that are playing 2 rounds a day. But it's really the golf of a new generation in that the accessibility and affordability is a contrast with the sport of traditional golf. Yet we find a lot of people enjoy kind of the ease of access, laid back nature, ability to bring the family, pets, and it's really been growing significantly across the course of the pandemic, where we kind of pick up. So that said, let's take a little bit of a look via video we've prepared at the sport.
Disc golf is a sport similar to golf. The object of the game is to get the disc in the target, a basket, in as few strokes as possible. The Disc Golf Pro Tour, DGPT, is the absolute highest level of professional disc golf, a world tour with 29 events, comprising the 2024 season. All DGPT events are broadcast on the DGPT dedicated streaming platform, the Disc Golf Network. Disc golf is filmed in remote locations, oftentimes in the woods. The DGN media team has to traverse these remote environments and walk down hills with live U units in tow. The DGN control room is a fully remote operation, coordinating the broadcast from several off-site locations. DGN subscribers can stream on a variety of platforms including PCs, mobile phones, tablets, smart TVs, and other connected devices. All users can enjoy live DVR coverage, 60 FPS streaming, and instantaneous playback, VOD, after the completion of live streams. Depending on their subscription tier, DGN subscribers can stream to 3 devices at once, receive over 1,000 hours of live stream content per season, access ad-free round 1 coverage, feature whole broadcasts, alternate commentary streams, and more. Disc Golf Network is the home of professional disc golf.
All right. So I'm going to pick up and talk about where we went from 2020 until we reached a point where we migrated our OTT platform last year. And here are some quick stats. We launched in 2020, and really we didn't know much about OTT at the time. the prior ownership group was streaming for free on YouTube, and we knew that we needed to monetize the product. We launched right into the teeth of the pandemic, but in our first event, we gained about 5,000 subscribers, but then we had to shut down. You can see the growth there. Our broadcast has kind of grown into, routinely hitting 40, maybe on our bigger events, 50 people working on our live broadcast. And at the end of last year, we had hit a high of about 56,000 subscribers. We've also seen international growth. So we took over a European tour in the offseason, and now they're Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe. So we're doing about 11 events across the European continent as well, which we've worked to seamlessly integrate into our offering. But disc golf as an emerging sport really depends on visibility. So what we've seen in the past is that if there's a hot spot of courses, there's a lot of players. We're trying to bring that growth through visibility, more eyes on disc golf media. So we're developing our markets into international markets. We're also thinking about fast channel development in the future, as well as more user engagement on our platform. We do distribute media off of our OTT platform to distributors like ESPN, CBS Sports, and we're trying to work towards some distribution on Amazon Prime this year. And before I hand it over to my friend Jeff Tocci here, just wanted to touch on our structure. We were just one subscription price point and tier, but we've moved into subscriber tiers. We also had a very interesting model the first couple of years. We gave our final round away free on YouTube and saw subscribers grow to 45,000, even though we're giving away that final round. So it's been an interesting journey in terms of what do we give away for free, how do we broaden that funnel, and how do we bring people into the funnel to pay for the subscription. So we went through a process of decision making on the migration, and we feel that at this point in time, we've got a great ability to control our development with AWS and Insys, who we've migrated over to. But to talk a little bit more about that process, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Tocci here, and he'll take you the rest of the way.
Cool. Thank you, Jeff. So I'm Jeff Tocci. I'm the Director of Broadcast Technology for the Disc Golf Network, and was leading this migration to our new custom build. So we're going to go through that process and what it was like, in the hopes of, if anybody else has to do something similar, you can learn from our mistakes and also our successes. So before we start, I just want to thank Dan for having us. We were a last-minute addition when Disney Plus dropped out, so very appreciative of Dan giving us a platform for our platform. I want to also thank Vimeo, who we were with for the first 4 years of the Disc Golf Network, and we wouldn't be in this position without them. And just super grateful for everybody over there. And then I want to thank AWS for the Migration Acceleration Program funding that allowed this to happen financially. And then Insys Video Technologies for bringing our ideas to life. And then, of course, the whole DGPT team, who's not here. Jeff and I are just 2 members of a much larger team, and we couldn't have done it without any of them. And then finally, our subscribers. It's not easy migrating. It's a difficult process, and there's a lot of pain points along the way, as we'll go through. So thank you, subscribers, for bearing with us during this process, and I hope we all come out stronger at the other side. So here's what we're going to go over. We're going to do an honest, transparent view of what it was like migrating. We're going to do a timeline of events as they transpired at the end of the 2023 season, which is when we migrated. And then we're going to go over the successes and pitfalls, as we discussed. We're going to go through some lessons learned, and then we're going to take a glimpse into what's to come. So the first thing is, why did we migrate, right? Why did we want to do our own thing? We had a couple server crashes at the beginning of last year that really kind of forced our hand. Nobody wants to migrate. Let's just start there. Everybody wants to kind of keep going. It's a very delicate thing to migrate, but that was one of the main things. And then we couldn't really get real-time technical support when these things happen, just due to bandwidth, which is understandable, but we really needed that because we've got a lot of viewers who want to see, if they invest a whole weekend in watching a disc golf tournament, they want to see how it ends, so that's very important. Jeff went through subscription tiers. That's really, really important. We wanted that as part of our business. And then we had some transcoding delays that were happening, where sometimes our videos wouldn't become available for like 2 hours or more sometimes, and then there was a gap between the broadcast and the VOD files, and a lot of our viewers are actually players themselves. So if it's a nice sunny day outside, they're gonna go and play, and then they wanna come in and then watch the pros sort of on demand, as we all are growing accustomed to. We wanted to do 60 frames per second. I compare us to baseball in this way. It's the slowest sport in the world until it's the fastest. And 60 frames really makes a difference for what we do. Live DVR is something that was sort of teased to our subscribers at one point, and they really liked it. And then it was removed due to just some things that happened, and our subscribers were really calling for it. And we'll go over the live DVR process that we have now, which I think is incredibly elegant. And then just having clear development timelines that are for us, not for everybody else. I'm just going to take a drink of water real fast. So we had a couple of non-negotiables that we really needed to get answered and delivered for us in order to make this migration possible. Server reliability, as we just talked about, was paramount. Live DVR, 60 frames, near instant transcode times, a sexy application. Third-party configurability, meaning we want to be able to work with other companies that come along in the space. We know how quickly things change in this space, and we want to be able to plug and play various third parties, and that was really important for us. We're not going to pretend we know what's going to happen in technology. We just want to be prepared for when these changes happen. We wanted more in-depth analytics and, of course, subscription tiers, as we've touched on. So a natural question that I've been getting asked even ahead of this presentation is, why did we choose Insys Video Technologies out of all the different options that are out there? First and foremost, they didn't insist on an all-in-one package. They really showed that they can work with other third parties, and constantly said, if there's anything that we want or anybody we want to integrate, we can. And that was a really big green light that we needed. And then, we were told that they can achieve all of these non-negotiables that we just went through in our very short, barely over 2-month off season, which is a very condensed timeline. And you'll see in a slide coming up, we didn't have a lot of time even to get to that off season to plan and to do everything that we needed to do. And then they have sports clients. They have Benfica, they have Olympique Lyonnais, they have German international football, and they've done stuff with Canal+. So very sports-centric clientele, and that was another thing we faced. A lot of people wanted us to fit into like an entertainment bucket, but we're a sport, and we needed to be treated like a sport. And then, they're an AWS preferred partner, and as I briefly touched on, we had migration acceleration program funding. So we really, that makes a difference on a small company to be able to do something like this. They fit our size, and in particular, I'm going to just show, this is the Lyon app. This is what sold me on Insys. You can just get a quick little demo right here as it goes through. You'll see that it's all sports, and we'll get to the matches here. And this is what I loved, and what was funny is that this wasn't designed by the Insys Video Technology design team, much to the chagrin of their design team. But we liked that it was, demonstrating that they can work with third parties, and it wasn't just them telling us, they showed us. So here's what the timeline looks like that I just talked about. We got our funding in July. Our off-season starts November 28th, beginning of December. So we had from December to February at the start of our 2024 season to get everything together. And this is just, an oversimplified view of what that process was like and our development phases. Here are the intricate development phases. You can read through those on your own, but these are the things we needed to achieve, and look at those dates next to them. That's a lot of items and not a lot of time to do it. And then here's our application that we've landed on, that we worked with the design team very closely. We did customer profiles. They said, do you like this design versus this design? And they really took an effort to understand our product and what we wanted. So by the time they delivered the product on our condensed timeline, we didn't have any revisions. We're like, this is exactly what we talked about. This is what we wanted. And this is just a demo of it on the web next to an iOS version of the same thing. And you can see, how it goes across platforms. And so we support a lot of different platforms. This is just for the NAB audience. I figure everybody wants to know, yeah, get your cameras out and then take a photo of this. What's really important here is that viewer experience from when the live event ends to when the VOD becomes available. And what AWS has made happen is they take this live DVR, that we have, and they turn that into a quote unquote VOD file instantly, so that viewers, no matter when they come in, can watch it. If they're watching on delay, they can still finish the program. It doesn't cut the stream off for them. And then as soon as that VOD becomes available, it replaces itself invisibly, and then now we're in VOD world and nobody even knows it. So there's now no gap between the events, and now you can rewind and be a couple minutes or hours behind and it's not a problem. So these are the subscription tiers. I won't go through all these details. You can read them on your own. They're on our website as well. But you can see we have our basic, our standard, and our pro. And you can imagine all the accesses and DRM considerations that we have with something like this. So what are the things that we don't want to share in a public forum, but that we think can be useful for people? And we experience subscriber churn, and that's a lot of companies' number one fear, right? That you're going to lose your subscriber base. We didn't lose our subscriber base, but I'll show you a chart later on that shows you kind of the recovery of our subscribers and what that looked like. One of the main issues we encountered was that we went Stripe to Stripe for our payment method, which we assumed would be a seamless, smooth transition. However, there was a glitch that we identified, unfortunately, which was the default payment method of users didn't carry over. So we didn't know which credit cards to charge to continue this seamless migration so that people just log in and it's still working. And that created delays off the bat. That set us two weeks behind schedule immediately. So we had some breakage. And then just for everybody out there, this might be common knowledge, but if you're starting a new Stripe account and you start to just take in a lot of money, it raises flags with banks because, hey, who's this new person who's pulling in X amount of dollars and where did they come from? And so banks get notified. So you have to ramp it up. You have to start with a slow amount of transactions and gradually go up. So the migration process actually takes closer to a week than just a day. So that's just another thing. When you make people aware that you're switching platforms, it might even just remind them that they're subscribed and it's the off season and they just are like, oh, I forgot to unsubscribe. And then device compatibility. We are still dealing with this, but backwards compatibility of devices is a very real problem today. We can support devices until about 2018, 2019, but what you're asking people to do just to subscribe to your network is to maybe have to go buy a new Amazon Fire Stick or buy a new TV and they're already spending money, and that's a barrier to entry that became increasingly real and is still very real. We have access issues just with PDGA member linking. We have very complex sort of deals that we give to PDGA members and all of that. That became a problem, and just a slew of unexpected Apple-related issues. One was the live DVR. Because our events are so long, it ran out of bandwidth and it created stops. And so Apple TV, for instance, couldn't keep up with our 6-hour broadcast, for instance. We've since created workarounds, but these are real problems while we're live. And then we were also blessed with an update. An Apple update 17.3.1 came out during Waco, and all of a sudden, some things started breaking that were out of our control, but everybody thinks it's us because we're the ones on this new platform. So identifying where the issues are actually becomes quite a thing. And then social media outrage is going to happen, and it's brutal. It's brutal when you're getting roasted online and you have to really kind of explain to people what's going on and show them that you're making an effort to improve it, but try doing that to a huge subscriber base all at once. People post online before they go to the customer support team. And that's what saved us, was the customer support team. We had to build one to do this. And it was, I'll show you the tickets and you'll see how important customer support is during a migration. Our communications team in real time, as these things were happening, as the Apple TV issues are popping up or whatever, we're communicating on all social media platforms, on our own page, and I'll show you, I'm just gonna skip past this other stuff because I wanna get to this next one. Look what we had to build just to show people how to use the device that they wanna use. We have a whole wiki page here that was built by our comms team just to help, deal with all of these various technical issues that we have. Here's the customer support tickets. So that's the first event, the highest spike there, right? And you can see we finally brought it back down to real day. I mean, I think the graph says it all there, but I think the thing that really says it all is the satisfaction. Nobody is happy when they do a customer support ticket. You're never gonna say, hey, I love the new platform, that's all I wanted to say, thanks. It's always, they're having problems, they wanna access the stream now, and we have to deal with it, so that's a huge credit to our customer support team. Here's the subscriber churn. We're omitting numbers, but I think the lines speak for themselves. The red line is our current status, and the yellow line is last year. So you can see, and then the dotted line across is where we ended the season and when we migrated of where we were supposed to be or where we wanted to be. It's reality. It's not something we're happy to share, but it's something we feel obligated to share for anybody who's going through this process because the churn happens, right? Now let's look into sort of the other side of this. So like, what are we learning now? Now that we have our subscription tiers, we have our first event there, and you see our percentage breakout of our members. And then you'll see Jonesboro just finished on Sunday, this past Sunday. And what's particularly interesting is our pro subscribers are going up. So people are actually upgrading and finding value in our pro subscription. And so for us, we want to constantly bring value to that.
Yeah, and disc golf is such a passion sport, and having another tier where folks that are passionate viewers just almost want to kind of almost contribute to the development was important. But now that we've got that first block in, it's very encouraging to see the growth in these pro tiers and giving subscribers an option to pay for more features.
Exactly. And then there's just a device breakout. I think all of us might be a little bit interested to see how modern day viewers are consuming things. And there's something to be said about us being, a brand new platform, that this is what people are using, at least for our service right now. And I think something that's constantly noticeable to us is our Roku audience is really big, comparatively to the, once you get past the web and the iOS, Roku's kind of there, hanging out. So very important to support Roku. Now let's dive into some real stats here. This is what I wanted to give everybody some numbers. So these are our last 3 events from today. Okay, so once sort of things settled, how are we looking? In the deep red, we have our FPO field, our women who play in the morning, and then in the dark blue, we have the MPO field, which is the men who play in the afternoon. We do 2 broadcasts per day during a tournament. Tournaments can be anywhere from 3 to 5 days. So there's some stories to be told here. So the first one is we had the highest rated round of an FPO player ever, not round, tournament of an FPO player ever. And you can see for the first time in my knowledge, FPO viewership exceeded MPO viewership, which shows how real women's sports are coming on so strong this year. If you look at our year over year, plus 123% FPO viewership. That's outlandishly high. We're still going up with the men, 71%, still really good, but when you put it against the women like that, it's really something to see. We had Niklas Antila, who's a Finnish player, first male Finnish champion.
Yes.
And what's particularly interesting is we were able to deduce this because in Europe, obviously they're 6 hours ahead or whatever Finland is from us, that they were technically watching in the next day. So they were watching on Monday. So we were able to sort of break out our stats from Sunday and Monday and see how many people from Europe are tuning in. We had 23% of viewership from Finland when I think the event ended around 3 a.m., maybe 2 a.m. So it shows you how strong our international potential is, and not just potential, reality is. So pretty big stuff happening just 3 events ago. Here's the one after that, the Texas State Championship. We had Annika Sten, the first Norwegian champion ever to win. You can see our peak concurrent on the deep red line there, shows round 1, round 2, round 3. On round 1, we're free on YouTube. So we combine our peak concurrent numbers to see how many people are watching. On round 3, you have to come to DGN. So that shows you that we're pulling our YouTube audience into our ecosystem, and they're tuning in. Finally, this was just this past weekend, concluded on Sunday. The most notable here is we had a runaway in the FPO division. Kristen Tatar is quite good and wins a lot, and she won by a lot. So viewership, kind of tapers off when you know who's going to win. However, we had a battle down to the wire in the MPO field, and once again, you can see on the peak concurrent now on MPO that we're bringing those views from YouTube into our ecosystem, and that's really important. All right, here are the big lessons that we would love for everybody to take away. The default payment bug within Stripe led to more churn than we anticipated and set our development timeline back 2 weeks, and we're still trying to recover, right? You set out best laid plans, and then all of a sudden you're 2 weeks behind off the bat. That's a reality that we faced. Seamlessly, doing the auto payments, it should be done over a long period of time to avoid those red flags that come up with banks. However, we didn't have the luxury of that. So this is just sort of a inevitable thing that we had to deal with. But if you have the option, if you're going to do something like this, give yourself some runway and know that it takes more than just a day. And then customer support and communications, just save the day. Thank you, Charles McCracken, and everybody on our comms team. And thanks for everybody on the customer support team who just deal with everything as it pops up. This is my take is devices are out of control. There's so many devices out there, and you have to make a decision of where you're going to cut that line and what you're going to support and what you're not going to support, and that's a difficult call. And it all depends on your subscriber base. So we made our decisions based on those device percentages that we saw, and unfortunately, one of the sacrifices that we had to make is we no longer on Xbox, and a lot of our viewers really liked watching on Xbox, so that's just a loss that we had to deal with.
I mean, one thing to note is that 1,500 people can make a lot of noise, but it can also be a small percentage of your subscriber base or your viewership. So I think we spend a lot of time trying to weigh, how important, complaints are. Obviously, they're all important, but you only have so much bandwidth. So, how can our viewers on Xbox, how can we lead them down the path to successful viewership?
Yeah, and identifying your priorities. What order of operations are you going to go here? And Xbox would have taken us time to develop at the risk of something else. So the big lesson: change is hard. Behavior change is even harder. To try to tell someone that they can no longer watch the Disc Golf Network in the same manner that they've been watching for 4 years makes people angry, makes people try to figure out what they're supposed to do. And like I said, it can result in them having to purchase new technology, which we never want to be the reason for that. But in the end of the day, we focused on product features. We feel like we're better positioned now than we've ever been. Despite the subscriber churn, those numbers are returning. We have a devoted, amazing audience that loves disc golf, and our product has never been stronger. The competition right now is just unreal. Every weekend, you have no idea who's going to win. So that's what we learned. I say, remember the good times. Look at everything that we gained. And this is why we did it. And it's easy to get bogged down when you see bad social media comments. And believe me, we hear them, and we're going to fix things, and it's going to improve. But you got to remember that it was for the greater good here. It's not over. We've got a lot of stuff in the development timeline, and right up against the end of our presentation here. And I want to leave time for questions. So thank you all for showing up here, and I hope we help anybody in this migration process.